that is MCPs as what's available. Look through and try them, but let's take a look at some in action. I'm going to run this little application here. This is one we built on a call a few calls ago. Oh, it's already running. We built this on a call a few calls ago, and it is a little super simple CRM app. I think I might have it up here. Here it is. Little CRM. It's a Python based. Tony, you recommended that we add a Monty client because it is Python based. So this is that little app. And I pulled it back up for the demo of using MCP servers. We can play around with adding a feature to it and see how you would use different MCP servers to help that process along. For anybody who didn't see that call, this is a CRM that has the ability to have clients, projects, and tasks in the project. So it's a very linear relationship. Clients can have multiple projects can have multiple tasks. The tasks and projects don't exist outside of a client. Very basic CRM. And we are going to add or attempt to add, I haven't tried this on this particular app, so we're just going to see where it goes. We're going to attempt to add an invoicing feature. So you can go into a client, create an invoice, and just give them a web page that says, here's your invoice. Very simple. Won't be super official, but we're going to use that to demo our MCP features. Sound like fun? Cool. Your access to MCP servers in the app you use, whatever the app may be, the location will vary. In Windsurf, it's here, and this is Kilo Code here. Kilo Code, your MCP servers are in here in settings, and you can manage your MCP servers here, see what's installed. This memory server has a connection turned off because I actually am building a custom one locally to do some custom file management. It's not active right now in Kilo Code. That's where you edit those. You basically edit all of them in a JSON file. Let's take a look at Windsurf though, because this is where we're going to be working. I have MCP servers here, and I can configure them. We have all of these MCP server tools that are available to us here. And this tells us the features that each tool has. So these are basically the tool calls that are available for each one. This is that memory one I was talking about. Puppeteer, so it can navigate, screenshot. Now you can see here I have this turned off. And that is because I'm not using this tool right now, since Windsurf just came out with their updated browser version that can do almost everything Puppeteer does. It's actually built into Windsurf. I've been testing out that new browser function instead of the Puppeteer tool. So it's currently turned off right here. You can enable it or disable it like that. We have sequential thinking. I have a Supabase connection, but this application right now that I'm working on does not have Supabase. I have it turned off because if I say something about the database schema, it will just go and call the Supabase and try to find the application there and waste a bunch of my time. Strategically, I know that I'm not using an app with Supabase right here, so I have that one turned off. It's still saved in my system, but I just don't enable it. And then this is that toolbox one. I have it on so you can see these features that I was talking about. This is that smithery. But in general, unless there's an MCP I don't want to bother installing and I know it doesn't have an API key or something, I just leave this one turned off and then I just turn it on when I want it. Very easy to turn them on and off. If we refresh this, we'll have our latest information available. Let's hop right in, and we're going to put this into write mode so that it can think well. And we are going to say, do not make changes. You have to tell it what tool you want. It will sometimes try to use a tool without you telling it, but if you explicitly say the tool, then you'll actually get the result you want out of that. So we're going to use this one right here, file system and sequential thinking. I cannot type apparently. We're going to use file system and sequential thinking MCP servers to determine how easily we could add an invoicing feature to this application. You can reference the memory MCP server to see details about this app. I loaded that into memory ahead of time so we could see what it would store. I want the invoices to be tied to clients, and they will simply generate a page URL that is accessible to outside parties. Outside auth will show their bill, the line items, and payment instructions. On the admin side, we can add items or choose from added items that are saved in the database. And we can change prices and set terms and conditions. Keep it basic. Do not make changes, just plan. All right, that's what we're going to do. Now let's see how it follows the instructions with the MCP servers. And this is where we will probably see part of my love-hate relationship with MCP servers, in that you give it instructions to use them, and sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. Here it used file system, and it pulled up the directory tree, and now it has a list of all our files. It's a very comprehensive here list of the files, and rather than having to go and search semantically, it knows every file we have in the app instantly. And then it's going to pick a file here. This is the bottles Python file. And now it can, from this list, it immediately knew what file it should go to identify how things are set up. Now it's looking at a couple other files. See, it loads the entire file into context rather than just reading a few lines. So we're getting our context window fully loaded very quickly here. Now it says there is no model relationship information. It's attempting to find the memory. And this is something that I found to be very interesting about the memory MCP. It will do a very specific query instead of following the instructions. Now, there are instructions that the memory tool has. This is the system prompt that it uses, and it tells it to do a broad search, and it doesn't do it. It tries to do something super specific. So I took out a rule out of my global rules specifically to see if I could get it to do this error on this call, and it did. What I like to do is put a global rule in. Depending on the tool you're using, it could change, but I like to put a global rule in up here at the top that says something like using memory MCP. And then I will say, if the memory MCP is active, do not do specific searches. First, do a broad search like that. And so it actually knows what my prompt was because I took it out earlier and it remembers it, or a version of it. I give it a rule like that in the global rules so that it actually does a broad search. And that way it's going to search for the application first and not try to do this crazy thing where it looked for a very specific string of information and decided, that doesn't exist. Let's take a look at what it found. Comprehensive understanding of the application. Here's what it has. Clients already core entities. which is what I explained. Everything's related to the client and everything is pretty modular. So this is our new models, new routes. Now, this is another example of me telling it to use an MCP tool and it sort of ignoring me. It used 2 of the 3 I told it. I said to use sequential thinking, and you notice it never showed up sequential thinking here. It never showed up. The LLM is non-deterministic. It may skip the instruction you give it. We are going to try to get it to use that for the build. Please do this change additively and use to plan, process, and execute without changing anything else in the app. We'll see if we'll get it to use it. The Windsurf just put in this plan mode down here, this enable plan mode, which is their own version of sequential thinking inside their prompt system. And I've noticed since they put that in, it's less likely to follow my instructions for sequential thinking, but it's hit or miss in Windsurf in that particular one since that changed. And this is a beta feature, so I don't have it enabled, which is interesting that it's still ignoring it, but that is the deal with MCPs. So here it has made a plan in the memory, right? So this is now put into memory so we can reference how it planned to do this creation. And we can reference back to all of the details rather than guessing next time. So we don't have to go and reread the files. We can say, hey, look up how you implemented this feature, or look back at the plan and see if you did every step of the plan. And it puts it all in here rather than necessarily having to create a markdown file every time. Let it go through here. While that's thinking, pun intended, let's go over here and see if there are any capabilities to add MCP servers. We'll open this right now. I'm building this app for quite a few folks that I do like by the hour work for. They buy blocks of hours and then I work on their app for a period of time, and I need a better way other than spreadsheets to report that. So right now I just report it with spreadsheets, and this will be live very soon and people will be able to log in and see all the work that's been done on their application just inside here and any hours used and things like that. I just opened this one up to see if we can access any tools for, this looks identical to the web version. I'm not really seeing a ton of additional features here. Here's an extension store. I'm not seeing that these are necessarily MCP capabilities either, but these extensions look fun. This would save you some time from time to time finding what's running on your, especially if you're running locally like this. But speaking of extension stores, I'm not seeing that there's an ability to add a MCP there. But that does remind me, I showed you 2 ways to get MCP servers like this list here. There's a bunch of other ways as well. These are kind of 2 of the biggest libraries. Let us go down into here and see what we have. Adding invoice templates. So it's going along. I am currently building an MCP server that I will share with you all as soon as it is done. It is going to be really cool. It works locally. It requires Python, and I have to make that dynamic so that it can run on anybody's system, because right now it requires a certain Python configuration. But basically what it does is whenever you want to integrate an API or a service with your application, this MCP will go and find all of the documentation for you and turn it into markdown files and bring that in right into your coding tool so that you have a up-to-the-minute knowledge base of how to do the integration you're trying to do. So you just say, hey, I want to integrate this. Use the Opichi AI helper to find all the documentation necessary to do this integration. And it will bring it in and use context of your application to write instructions for itself to do the integration. very single purpose tool, extremely powerful because, as I said earlier on the call, the AI LLMs don't actually have context that's recent for a lot of APIs. It uses Perplexity on the back end, so you have to have a Perplexity API key. I'm going to add a couple other options like Brave Search and things like that, so people have variable decision making if they want. Yeah, it goes out, finds all the documentation, pulls it in, and injects it right into your system for that. It will be a fun MCP for y'all to use. I will send an email about it when it's done. I have this version here that's like a web version of it that is almost built as well. So if you don't want it to have context of your application, you just want to ask for the information, I'll have this finished and published shortly. Just had a couple bugs that I was fixing this week. But basically what happens is you can say like Stripe payments. And I want to use Stripe payment pages to create subscriptions for my something like that. And I have, like I said, I've been working on a couple bugs here, so we'll see if it actually runs or not, and bring that back. So that's more generic information, and the MCP will actually use your app context to go find the information that matches your. Okay, so here are the templates it's creating. I see it's doing all these HTML templates. This would be the front end pieces, both for us as admins and for customers to see. Let's see how far it gets here. It's done a lot of tool calls. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 here. It's going to stop in 2 more calls. See? 1, 2. Windsurf stops at 20 calls every time. Every single time. It goes 20 calls and stops. You can know you're going to have to come back and tell it to continue. I wanted to get to the end here, and then we'll see what it does. This is like a generic version of what the MCP tool will do. It pulls up the latest information and writes instructions for your AI to use for integrating whatever API you want. And this does an internet search to find the latest information. I'm just basically extending this into the MCP. You have application context, but it gives documentation and finds error code information. And you can basically paste this in to get your integration working really well, fast and easy. The MCP tool will just take out that step and allow you to just natural language ask for it. So going to be pretty neat. See what we have here. Okay, so it updated our changelog with the changes. That's good. And it updated the memory. So now it made the memory up here, right? And then it followed that and updated the memory. Something to keep in mind with these tools is they will lie to themselves. So you have to go check it and see if the memory actually is telling the truth. It's going to restart the app here. Cursor has a similar setup. Kilo Code has a similar setup. This little button right here, this open in terminal, is very useful. So when the app runs a command and you see it here in this window, you can't really interact with it, but you can relocate that command over to your terminal here so you can interact with it. And this would be for things like, let's say I wanted to connect this to Railway to edit my Railway services. You have to type in information as a user, and you have to use your keyboard to select different services. The AI can't do that here. So you can just relocate it in terminal, and then you can interact with your terminal here. So that's a useful little button. It went away for a few weeks and everybody complained about it, including myself. I sent them a message. So bring it back. Give us that back. All right. It says it's running. This is that Windsurf browser that I'm currently testing as a replacement for the Puppeteer tool. And here we have the little tool, but in the Windsurf browser, look at this. It has this test software notice, and you can actually send your logs, screenshot, or select an element and send those right into Windsurf rather than having to go and like right click and inspect, and then say, I want this element right here, and I want to copy that, and then paste that into Windsurf. You can actually just select an element and send it. You just click it and it sends it to Windsurf. So kind of a cool little tool. Same concept of giving Windsurf eyeballs to see what's going on. And then this would be like sending the logs. It's going to pull the console logs and it's going to drop them in here. There aren't any that need to be sent to the peers. All right, let's sign in. See what we have. Okay. So we have a new tab up here, invoices. Let's see if we built what we wanted. Create your first invoice. Yeah, we'll send Monty an invoice. I wonder if it automatically assigns a number or not. Let's see. And here's a draft. I do not see an actual item I can add here. Am I missing that? Or is it? Okay, so I have to put in an invoice number. We'll just do 0001. And we have an integrity error. Okay. We will screenshot this. See it put it right there for us. And then we will send the logs. Wonder if there are any logs. It does not appear that there are any logs, so it's not going to send those. But I bet there are issues here. Yeah, look at these. Just copy some of this. Put that in. I tried to save and invoice and gave these errors. Diagnose. Now, this is a cool new feature in Windsurf. I don't want to actually add this context window, right? We just build a whole app in this, or a whole feature in this context window. I want to debug separately, but I just threw everything into this chat here. If you go and start a new conversation, you just click that little plus, keeps all of that stuff you just saved it. You just put it in the chat and you can send it in a new conversation. That little plus button. You can do your debugging right there in the screen and then dump it into a new conversation for an open context window. I know MCPs probably didn't look super like entertaining. It's not flashy like putting in a PRD and suddenly getting a crazy, amazing app in one go, but they're super cool for doing strategic edits. And I hope that this gives you a little idea of how to use them and maybe removes some hesitancy about trying it yourself. They're not going to go mess anything up. You can just try it, put it in, use them, turn them off if you don't like them, things like that. Thanks for coming. See you next week. Cheers. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and follow. And if you need help building or finishing your app, click the link in my bio to book a one-on-one Zoom call to take a look at your project.